Al Cheit Shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have committed against you by harboring extremist views. V'al Cheit Shechatanu lefanecha, and for the sin we have committed against you by tolerating extremist views and fanatical violence in our communities and in our world. Just this past summer, we have been witness to numerous examples of individuals and groups harboring extremist viewpoints and using these viewpoints to harass, intimidate, hurt, and kill those whom they did not agree with. And these extremist views affect all faiths, political movements, and ideologies. We have seen segregationist white supremacist Dylan Roof deliver mayhem and massacre at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. We have seen a contest in our own Metroplex where $10,000 was offered for the best rendering of the Prophet Muhammad, and we saw that the aftermath of this contest, which was put on by extremists, was the shooting attack by other extremists. We have seen ISIS grow in size and influence, raping, torturing, and murdering those that they see as infidels. We have seen the Westboro Baptist Church in the news again and again, spouting their hatred. We have seen extremist views on the left and the right of the political arena, which has led to a sense of mistrust and vitriolic speech as we have entered this upcoming year leading to a presidential election. In fact, just this past week, during the Republican debate on CNN, Ann Coulter tweeted about the effing Jews. Now, whether you are a conservative or a liberal, I think we can all agree that comments like this cross the line from acceptable political discourse into the realm of anti-Semitic extremist thought. And we have seen from Jews claiming to be among the most pious two horrific events that took place on Tu B'Av, the Jewish day of celebrating love. First, an ultra-Orthodox Jew attacked marchers in the Jerusalem Gay Pride Parade, stabbing 6, one of whom, 16-year-old Shira Banki, died from her wounds. And later that night, 2 Palestinian homes were firebombed. Graffiti with the words, "Long live the Messiah" and "Revenge" was found on the walls, and an 18-month-old, Ali Saad Dawabsheh, was killed while his parents and brother were taken to the hospital with burns covering most of their bodies. A few days later, his father died from his injuries, and just this past week, his mother passed away as well. All of these groups and individuals have one thing in common: extremist views. And it doesn't matter what religion or on what end of the political spectrum one falls, extremist behavior and thought is dangerous. For remember that along the political spectrum, if one goes too far left, they become a Soviet-model communist, and if one goes too far to the right, they are a fascist. And extremist viewpoints have the possibility of becoming even more dangerous in the religious world. This is because extremist Christians, Muslims, and Jews all claim to have a monopoly on truth and are unable and unwilling to listen to opposing points of view. In fact, disagreements are seen as a fight between good and evil, with those that do not agree seen as an existential threat. The extremists see disagreement as a threat to their survival, their God, and their way of life. This is why Dylan Roof murdered the members of Mother Emanuel. This is why ISIS exists, grows stronger, and can recruit more members. This is why, though they are small in number, the Westboro Baptist Church receives countless donations from across the country. And this is why those Jews in the land of Israel saw it as necessary to kill and maim the innocent. And yet these viewpoints and these behaviors, especially among those of us who are part of Klal Yisrael, the community of Israel, are so antithetical to what our tradition teaches. In response to the stabbing at the Pride Parade, Rabbi Binyamin Lau, a prominent Orthodox rabbi and the cousin of the current Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, said, "It is unacceptable that after Thursday night's stabbing, someone could come and say that he condemns the act because a Jew doesn't stab another Jew. That's racism. A Jew does not stab another human being, period. To claim to be Jewish while committing these horrible acts goes against everything the Jewish people stand for. In fact, in response to these heinous acts, numerous Jewish leaders from all streams of Judaism have spoken out against extremist violence. One of my teachers, Rabbi Gary Pokras, wrote, "We condemn these senseless acts of violence and terror and repudiate their perpetrators. They have cultivated hatred in place of love and have chosen destruction, assault, and murder as a result. We are outraged by their twisted acts, mourn for the dead, and sit in solidarity with the victims. They do not represent Judaism or the Jewish people. And in committing these crimes, they have violated us all." Even among the ultra-Orthodox, many reacted in surprise, horror, and regret. The two chief rabbis of Israel, David Lau and Yitzchak Yosef, decried the attack. The Torah of the Jewish people forbids all violence and efforts to injure any person, and especially someone who tries to kill another person, Lau said. While Yosef said, "It is unthinkable that a man can lift up his hand against another Jewish soul in the name of religion," he continued, "I am praying that from the bottom of my heart for the full recovery of those who were injured, and in the face of this type of hatred, I call on the entire Jewish people to return to unity and kindness and tolerance." These rabbis make a good point. One who chooses violence, hatred, and extremist behavior does not represent the Jewish people, Judaism, or anything that our beautiful tradition teaches. Now, this is not to say that disagreements or even passionate viewpoints in Judaism are wrong. In fact, they are often encouraged. The Talmud tells a tale of a great dispute between the rabbis over whether a specific oven was kosher or not. Rabbi Eliezer said that the oven was kosher, while the other sages expressed doubt. It is taught that on that day, Rabbi Eliezer brought forward every imaginable argument, but the sages didn't accept any of them. Finally, he said to them, "If the halakha, the religious law, is in accordance with me, let this carob tree prove it." And sure enough, the carob tree immediately uprooted itself and moved 100 cubits from its place. "No proof can be brought from a carob tree," they retorted. And so he continued, "If the halakha agrees with me, let the channel of water prove it." And sure enough, the channel of water began to flow backward. "No proof can be brought from a channel of water," they rejoined. Again he urged, "If the halakha agrees with me, let the very walls of the yeshiva prove it." And sure enough, the walls tilted as if to fall. But Rabbi Yehoshua rebuked the walls, saying, "When disciples of the wise are engaged in a halachic dispute, what right have you to interfere?" And in deference to Rabbi Yehoshua, they did not fall, and in deference to Rabbi Eliezer, they did not resume their upright position, and so they are still standing aslant, the Talmud says. Again, Rabbi Eliezer continued, saying to the sages, "If the halakha agrees with me, then let it be proved from heaven." And sure enough, a divine voice, a bat kol, cried out, "Why do you dispute with Rabbi Eliezer, with whom the halakha always agrees?" Now Rabbi Yehoshua stood up again and protested. "The Torah is not in heaven. Lo b'shamayim he said. "We pay no attention to a divine voice because long ago at Sinai, you, God, wrote in your Torah, 'After the majority must one incline.'" Now this story shows two things. First, it shows that a passionate viewpoint is to be respected. Even though the other sages did not agree with Rabbi Eliezer, their respect for him did not wane due to his passion. And second, it illustrates the Jewish notion that Kol machloket shehi l'shem shamayim sofa lehitkayem. All disagreements that occur for the sake of heaven will endure. This is to say that disagreements, debates, and arguments are acceptable and even praiseworthy when made for the sake of heaven. Yet when made for malicious, self-serving, or extremist causes, they should be avoided and are frowned upon. This saying from Pirkei Avot, the ethical sayings of the ancient rabbis, continues by giving the rebellion of Korach, who held extremist views opposing Moses, as an example of a disagreement to be avoided. For Korach wanted to lead the people for his own personal gain, and rather than approaching Moses and having a respectful conversation in disagreement, he led a group in open revolt. We are only human, and as such, we have opinions. And these opinions, which are sometimes very deeply held, along with our thoughts and feelings, are an important part of what makes us who we are. And yet, when we are so wedded to our opinions, when the thought of changing one's mind, of opening up to another point of view, causes us to hurt those around us, it's a problem. And extremism is not a new disease. The Talmud relates another legend, that after the rebellion against the Romans, the great mystic Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai emerged from years of hiding in a remote cave. Upon first stepping into the sunlight, the rabbi saw men working in the fields. Angered at the sight of daily life proceeding normally, when he had been praying and meditating in secret for so long, he exclaimed, "They forsake eternity and spend their time on transitory things." And wherever he looked, the legend relates, the land was instantly consumed in flame. A voice came from heaven and said, "Have you come out of hiding in order to destroy my world? If so, go back to your cave." In commenting on this story, Rabbi David Wolpe remarks, "This is not only a warning against fanaticism, it is an endorsement of the importance of daily life and everyday activities. Furthermore, that there is no monopoly on truth does not mean, however, that there is no truth. There is truth. The truth that we are all created b'tselem Elohim, in the divine image. The truth that every human life is sacred. And the truth that, as God told Job, we cannot understand the complexities of the universe. Therefore, we are urged to keep seeking for answers, yet not be so certain that our answers are correct, or that our answers are the only ones that are correct, so others must be wrong. And furthermore, we cannot continue to be held hostage to the theatrics of religious extremism. It is time for us to stand up and say that we will not tolerate this any longer. Now, each extremist must be approached in a different manner, but it is important to approach these situations and demand that our neighbors do the same. Among our own community, it is essential to be vocal in our criticism of Jewish extremism and to support organizations and causes that help break the cycle of extremist rhetoric and violence. We must demand that fringe groups such as the Westboro Baptist Church do not get the publicity that they are so desperately looking for. And we must demand from our friends and neighbors from other faiths, both Christian and Muslim, to stand up to their co-religionists who harbor extremist views. And we must urge those in the seats of power to do all that is possible to protect the rights of all, including those who do not hold the extremist views, and to fight extremism wherever it exists. Professor Michael Chenlov of the Moses Maimonides Academy in Moscow states that Judaism is a tool of resistance. He says that whenever you come across words, behavior, or events that you feel are evil, you almost automatically react with 3 words: I am Jewish. For we should remember Mordechai, he says, who said that he would not kneel before Haman because he was Jewish. Because we are Jewish, we have an obligation to resist the forces of Haman, the extremist forces that seek to blot out truth, seek to blot out difference of opinion, and seek to destroy all who disagree with them. And tonight, as we sang the Kol Nidre, the night where we recall all of our vows, I urge each of us to take a vow, that in the year to come we will remember the words, I am Jewish. I am the one who wrestles with my God, one who seeks to understand the world around me, and one who is open to, at the very least, hearing the opinions of others. Al Cheit Shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have committed against you by harboring extremist views. V'al Cheit Shechatanu lefanecha, and for the sin we have committed against you by tolerating extremist views and fanatical violence in our communities and in our world. May we do a better job in the year to come and make sure that we do not commit these sins again. V'al kulam, Eloha slichot, salach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these things, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. Amen.